This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Wednesday, April 12th, 2006, and this is episode number 86 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hodgberg from MGMstudios.org. On the show today is the man who knows every episode we've ever done, Len Testa of TouringPlans.com. Welcome, Len.
How's it going, Matt?
Outstanding. And we have Mike Newell of MouseWorldRadio.com. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, Matt. How you doing? Outstanding. I know.
That's it.
I know.
No point in asking.
And we also have Mike Scopa of MousePlanet.com. Welcome, Mike.
Visitors from Galaxy M31, please keep all forward-facing tentacles away from oncoming Metroliner vehicles. Thank you.
It's Wednesday, and that means we're answering our listener questions. So if you'd like your questions answered, simply email us at questions@wdwtoday.com. Our first question comes from Sarah in PB Gardens. Anyone have an idea what PB Gardens is?
Wow.
Palm Beach?
Peanut butter?
Pebble Beach?
Must be peanut butter.
Peanut butter, yeah. Peanut butter gardens.
Sarah's question is, I don't know if it's just us or it happens a lot, but it seems like every time we try to ride Test Track, the ride has what they call minor problem, but it seems to last all day. I've heard repeatedly that each car on the ride has a computer as advanced as the computer on the space shuttle. Is this true? And if it is, why could it power a shuttle and not a couple of cars on a ride?
Yeah, first of all, the computer's not advanced. So you're probably the computer you're listening on is probably more advanced than what's in the Test Track or probably in the space shuttle. Yeah. It's a lot more reliable than it used to be, but yeah, it's just so technically complex. I think part of the ride vehicles are autonomous, aren't they? They're not. Every movement is not completely controlled by some central computer, right? There's some onboard processing done by the cars, and the issue is that if one of the cars senses something going wrong, it'll essentially stop the ride. So one car goes bad and everything else stops. I think that's the issue that we have.
Right. I mean, it's been it's sponsored by General Motors, and I'm sure it doesn't bode well for General Motors that everyone associates breakdowns with General Motors.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned that, Matt, because it's not actually sponsored by General Motors. It's sponsored by Toyota, and they pay extra to put General Motors' name on it. Isn't that interesting?
I've never known that.
That's not really true.
I thought I read that in Lou Mongello's book.
God, this ride's I know what we can do.
Right.
That's why. I mean, I think it's just it's fairly complicated. The vehicles are at least to some extent self-controlled, but anytime that they sense an issue, a safety issue, a braking issue, something like that, it essentially shuts the entire ride down. To be fair, though, it's not nearly as bad as it used to be back when the ride first opened.
Great. Well, our next question comes from Cassandra, who writes, we are planning to go to Walt Disney World the first week of October, and we are hoping that we will be able to experience the Nightmare Before Christmas Haunted Mansion. My question is, do they redo the Haunted Mansion in Orlando like they do in Anaheim, and will it be open the first week of October?
I can take this one. Going back a few shows ago, there was a plan to transform the Haunted Mansion into Haunted Holidays, I believe they called it, taking the Nightmare Before Christmas characters and draping them throughout the attraction. However, something called Stitch Escapes came into the into the plan, and so the Haunted Holidays plan was scrapped. They do it in Disneyland. I have no idea if they are going to do it this year in Walt Disney World. I'm definitely keeping my ears to the ground on this because I'm really anxious to see them transform the Haunted. So when I hear about it, I will let everybody know.
Ears to the ground, Scope. I think you owe Goldhaber a nickel for using that.
You're really...
Ching cha-ching.
All right. Our next question comes from Dan Scott of Winter Park, Florida, who writes, do any of you guys know how the Pal Mickey dolls get their information? I was playing with my Pocket PC today in the park and found that there is a secured wireless network being broadcasted with the name WDWLAN. It came to me that if it was somehow connected to the Pal Mickeys, then it would serve for many other money-making possibilities for them. I know my PDA has become a part of my everyday life, and I'm not alone in that matter. If they could make PDA software that use the network to supply and update resort information, wait times, etc., they could really make some serious cash. Also, to comment on the sunlight question from a previous podcast, the sun here, right outside Orlando, set yesterday at 6:17 and tonight at 6:18. This was back in February. By the same watch, we're gaining about a minute each day. But as a native of Buffalo, New York, I would say that it gets darker faster here in Florida than up north. It stays lighter longer, but the transition seems quicker. Thanks for all the great shows. So going back to Dan's question, how do Pal Mickey dolls work?
It's I believe there's an infrared sensor in the nose of Pal Mickey that picks up signals from one of many hundreds of infrared transmitters scattered throughout the parks, like at behind bushes, in lampposts, on rooftops, and stuff like that. Essentially transmitting constant streams of information to Mickey, telling him where he's at in the park and whether he needs to be updated. With infrared, I don't think it's wireless LAN.
Right. But the software, and that's why they have there's two versions of Pal Mickey. There was Pal Mickey 1.0, now there's Pal Mickey 2.0, which is the current Pal Mickey that's available.
Yeah,
and
so,
he's not updated with information. He just gets queued up to play information that's stored inside the Pal Mickey doll itself, right?
Yeah, there's like 700 different messages. There's probably more than that now. There's probably like 1,000 messages in Pal Mickey. And I understand in the chip itself, they're not completely pre-recorded messages. He has the ability to make new sounds, like the chip that he has inside of him knows what like a hard H sound and a K sound is. So if they needed to string together new words, they could do it with this chip. But I still think it's infrared. The basics of it are infrared. I don't think they would have changed the. And the easiest way to tell is to see whether Pal Mickey 1 and 2 work together.
Great. Our next question comes from Joe from Pennsylvania, who writes, I heard that the Wilderness Lodge offers a tour of the resort. Do you know what days and times the tour is available, and if possible, what some highlights of the tour are?
Did anyone else want to get this one? I looked it up.
I know a little bit about that. I think it's offered. I believe it's offered every morning. I think it's offered on. I think it's only offered a couple of days during the week. I think Wednesday through Saturday. The tour basically. They talk about the architecture of the lodge, and they discuss how it was built. They're talking about landscaping. Let's see, maybe it is 9:30.
Yeah, I think it's 9:30 now.
9:30. Yeah. They talk about the artwork, and they talk about the totem poles and everything, and that's about all I know about it. Len, you know anything else?
It's free.
It's free, yeah.
And I think it covers the basics. It covers, like you said, the architecture, which is pretty good. Theming, which is great. Landscaping. Did you mention landscaping?
They talk about the landscaping outside, yeah.
Yeah, and then the artifacts inside that you'll find. How long does it take? Is it an hour and a half?
Don't know. I don't know. My question is if they also do the same thing for the Animal Kingdom Lodge, because wasn't the same architect involved with the Animal Kingdom Lodge?
Yeah, I mean they're architecturally they're very similar, right? Same sort of soaring lobby type thing.
Yeah.
There's no tour available for Pop Century, Mike?
Not yet.
We should do
I'll
a
put my ears
tour.
I'll have my ears to the grindstone.
Yeah, but Joe, if you go on that tour, let us know how it is.
Our next question is from Justin of Muncie, Indiana.
Muncie.
Muncie.
It's Muncie.
Have you been there, Mike?
No,
I
we
was
know
there.
English. Go ahead.
I was there for a week one afternoon.
And Justin's question is, I was wondering which hotel is the best, Swan or Contemporary?
Well, now that's a tough one because are you talking location? Are you talking ambiance? Are you talking restaurants? Are you talking
it's a good point.
Convenience?
It's a good point, Mike. Well, I guess the best way to say it is which would you recommend someone to stay at first? Like which, if you had to rank them, how would you rank them?
Well, okay, then it goes even into more questions. Well, are we talking about a couple? Are we talking about empty nesters? Are we talking about a young family? Are we talking about young adults? You know, it's very hard. I guess you'd probably get a better deal. Probably more. It's probably cheaper to stay at. Was it the Swan?
Swan or yep.
Yeah, I would guess the room would be cheaper at the Swan. Than the Contemporary. The convenience of the Swan to the boardwalk area, be able to walk to either MGM or you could walk to Epcot through the International Gateway. So the Swan does definitely have some advantages over the Contemporary. The Contemporary is basically for those people who just love the Magic Kingdom and who want to be able to walk to the Magic Kingdom in the morning and walk back to their resort.
I think
You
yeah.
got anything to add to that?
No. I prefer the Contemporary over the Swan if I had a choice, but I think it is more pricier than the Swan.
Certainly pricier. If you take Contemporary pre-rehab versus the Swan, no doubt the Swan was a better hotel.
Right.
Have you guys seen the new rooms though at the Contemporary?
Yeah, they look amazing.
Yeah, we actually got a personal tour of them a couple weeks ago when we were there in March, and I got to say they are fabulous. I think the bedding now is comparable to what the Swan has, the Heavenly beds. I mean, I thought for a long time the Swan was probably the best value in Walt Disney World Deluxes. I think I even said this on the show. But the new Contemporary rooms, they're stylish, they're modern, comfortable, very clean lines, like 42-inch plasma flat screen TVs in the rooms, which I don't think the Swan yet has. High-speed internet connection, wireless, and it's got convenience. I would say that, Justin, if you can get a refurbished room at the Contemporary, it's every bit as good as the Swan, maybe even better. But if you're getting an older room, then the Swan's going to be better. The Swan will be a better room. The other thing, too, is convenience, like the guy said. The Contemporary is walking distance to the Magic Kingdom. That goes a long way, especially if you've got small children and you're spending a lot of time there. If you like Epcot like we do, the Swan is probably a better choice. I don't think you can go wrong with either one. I really did like the rooms at the Contemporary. I'll upload some photographs because I took like 100 of them. The bathrooms use this is ingenious actually. The bathrooms are very creative. They use sliding pocket doors rather than regular doors to open and close. It gives you a lot more space in the rooms. Also in the showers, they've got instead of it just being a straight shower curtain rod, it's actually curved outward to give you a little bit more space. Ingenious. And the same thing holds true at the Polynesian. A lot of thinking going on there. I liked it a lot.
I'm going to jump on the Swan bandwagon and go for the Swan, personally.
Yeah, and if you're a government official, don't they have great rates for teachers and nurses and stuff like that?
At the Swan, yeah.
Yeah.
Our next question comes from Bob. Hey guys, love the podcast. If this question is inappropriate, I completely understand, but here it goes. We are a family of 5, children ages 13, 9, and 6 from a small Midwest town. The time that works best for us to make a trip to Walt Disney World is the week following Memorial Day, arriving on Tuesday following Memorial Day. This is before our hectic summer schedule will start. While researching our trip, we discovered on All Ears Net that this is also the start of Gay Days in Orlando. Though I'm personally not opposed to gay people, the exposure of this is very limited, and I'm not sure I'm ready to answer those questions for my 6 and 9-year-olds. My question is, how obvious is it during the time that it is Gay Days, and with my concerns, should we avoid Orlando at this time?
I think that whenever you talk about something like that, if you're looking for something, you're going to see it. If you're not looking for something, you may not notice it. I think that you have to approach any week down there as a week for your own family and for your vacation, and not try to let anything anything influence your vacation. So I'm not sure as to how obvious things will be. If you're going to be looking for things, then you're going to notice it. But I would not worry about it. You're not going to be bothered. I would just let it go.
I was there 2 years ago for not 4 Gay Days, but I was there at the same time. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I want to be the first one to quote Seinfeld. I didn't notice any out of line public displays of affection. It's certainly nothing that you wouldn't normally see in the theme parks between teenagers or Brazilian tour groups. It just didn't. Everyone's going to be wearing red T-shirts, I believe. That'll probably be the most obvious sign that something different is going on. Other than that, it wasn't. The whole thing was just a non-starter for the entire week. It just wasn't something that caused much consternation. So, but do they still have that that Pirates of the Caribbean event where everyone dresses up in leather, that I would like to see, actually.
I'm not too sure about that one.
I think actually there was at one time where there is an event where it's like wear your leathers to Pirates of the Caribbean. So Bob, you might want to check the websites to see whether that's still a scheduled event. The websites are gayday.com and gaydays with an S.
I do believe that there are designated park days as we have for Mousefest, so that might be something to check out. If someone is really concerned, they may want to check to see which days are designated as like Animal Kingdom Day, Magic Kingdom Day, and just avoid the park on that day.
We've actually got on the crowd calendar for the unofficial guide which parks to go to and which parks to avoid for the first week of June, taking into account Gay Days. And again, we have nothing against the Gay Days event. If it was my entire family reunion in a particular park, I would tell people to avoid it anyway too, just because of the crowds. So we, Bob, if you wanted to go, by all means, to whatever park you want, go ahead and go. If you wanted to avoid it, I think our crowd calendar will tell you which parks will be least crowded. Again, we're not routing people around Gay Days because we don't think it's an appropriate event. It's just because of the crowds. It will bring several 100,000 people to Orlando. So the parks will be a little bit more crowded than normal.
Great. We've got time for one more question. It comes from Bill Kessler of Calhoun County, Illinois, who writes, I have a couple of old Disney tickets that have various amounts of days remaining. The first is with the old picture of a ticket system circa 1993. It's a 4-day park hopper, 2 days used. It was lost and now is found. And the other was purchased on December 15, 2004, a 5-day park hopper, 1 day used. Is it my understanding that these tickets have no expiration? Is that true, or do I need to plan a trip soon?
I believe they have no expiration.
Yeah, these are the pre-Magic Your Way tickets, and they should be no expiration, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some value that they can bring over to guest services or guest relations. And
what were the dates for those?
One's from 93, and the other one is from December of 2004.
So 93, you won't be able to get into the Animal Kingdom with that. That's one thing to note, Bill. You won't be able to use those park tickets to get into the Animal Kingdom because I believe on the back it'll tell you that it's not valid for any park that was created after the ticket was created.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so it's so you should be able to get into. Matt, when did the studios open? Like 89, right?
89, yep.
89. Okay, so you're fine on that, Bill. So you can get into the 3 parks. I don't believe it would be valid admission to get into the Animal Kingdom. So, but I think you should be fine to use them just for regular admittance. Disney will give you the days credit on the tickets that you've got. So if you've got a 2-day park hopper, they'll give you the equivalent 2-day park hopper Magic Your Way ticket. Are they going to try and convert him over to Magic Your Way? And is there any chance that they might try and give him just the dollar value of the ticket he paid rather than actually?
No, they should work. I've used old tickets on the Magic Your Way system. I mean, you just stick them in there, and instead of putting your fingers in, it just pops out and says, "Okay, well there you go."
So you should be fine on that, Bill. But I don't think it's going to work on the Animal Kingdom.
I mean, I think the concern you might have is that when tickets get old, a lot of times the barcode isn't exactly up to speed. And if you're concerned about that, you can just bring by guest relations, and they may end up just taking your tickets and issuing you a new one. I'm not sure how they handle that, but that might be the only concern you would have with old tickets, especially the one from '93. That's it for us today. This has been episode number 86 of Walt Disney World Today. If you want to find older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the Walt Disney World Today website at www.wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Scopa, and Mike Newell, I'm Matt Hodgford. See you on the next show.